It's a lot of work too. You know, even that part where you're like paying attention to your body when something, let's just say something stressful happens. You know, in my case, it would be an angry issue. It's like something irritating happens, and I've got to be someplace else, but now I got to deal with this issue. And I'm not sitting there going, oh, wow, here's an opportunity for me to deal with the stress of this anger. And I'll, you know, take a look and say, oh, how does that feel? I'm going, ah! You know, I got to get out of here now, you know.
What science has told us is you have 90 seconds to deal with that, to resolve that before it gets imprinted in memory.
There's a note I should take. Right
90
there.
seconds, that's the physiology of it. And that's exciting because 90 seconds is quite a long time. If you think about if you're being chased by a tiger, again, you'd be responding in a fight or flight or defense response would be appropriate. If you're being chased by a tiger, how long do you think that lasts?
I think it's shorter than 90 seconds.
Shorter, 30 seconds would seem like an eternity. So, I mean, it goes back to Einstein's law of relativity. And so you got 90 seconds to go, okay, I reacted in a negative way, I cancel that, I forgive myself, and start to focus in a positive way. How can I look at this more positively?
Meanwhile, holding the tiger off while you're making these decisions.
Well, and again, in modern living, of course, now that you don't have to hold the tiger off because that's appropriate. The key is in modern living, our thoughts and feelings we perceive as threats. And they're not real threats.
We're making them up.
We're making it up. We're coloring the event. And then what happens is it gets stuck in memory, which we call subconscious emotional memory override. And now it's running 24/7, 365 without your conscious awareness. And it has a whole physiology associated with it, which creates a system where you're out of phase, you're out of time now, and you're fragmented. Because it's kind of like, you ever run your computer, get too many programs running on your computer?
Yeah, sure.
What happens to the computer?
Crashes. It stops doing
everything. Or glitches, and you know, that's what happens with our nervous system. We had too many things running and a certain physiologies, and the body is fragmented because there's overload and it starts to short circuit, and instead of frying the whole system, it'll segment apart, segment an organ, segment a limb, so that it doesn't just fry the whole thing. So just like with your electrical system at home, certain circuits go to certain appliances. And you know, we recognize that in the home. Oh, the refrigerator's not working. Oh, maybe, and these, we better go check the circuit breaker. And we'll flip it on, but many times it'll flip back off if we haven't found where the overload is.
Right.
But we don't make that connection in our bodies. Oh, my heart's not working right, my stomach, my digestion isn't working right, some system isn't working right. We immediately think that it's the organ's problem, instead of maybe it's the communication to that organ that is causing it to run excessively or deficiently. And then it's affecting that. So we do organ replacements, all these things. Many of them fail because the communication to that organ hasn't been changed.
There was a great book out there quite a while ago, a guy named Robert Dykewald, I think, but it was called Body Mind. And in that book, he was presenting the connection between your thoughts and your physical ailments or your physical well-being, and encouraging people to pay way closer attention. I think we're all so busy with the external stuff that we think is actually influencing us in some way, or that we're actually having some influence over, then we are paying attention to just how we're functioning.
Yeah, it truly is. And the external world that we perceive through our five senses is kind of like the tip of the iceberg of what's really going on. You know, just like an iceberg, you see this much and there's this much under the surface that's really going on. So recognizing that our five senses are very limited, and we were talking about beliefs, our beliefs, for the most part, were established through those five senses.
And very early on, as you
And very early
pointed out
on. So our discernment wasn't there. We don't know that it's true or not true. But many people go through their whole lives running those same belief systems and praying for a different outcome.
Wow, and that goes back to some of our other conversations, where you establish a belief system, whether it's faulty or real. To you, it's real, and then you go ahead and behave as if it were real, and then the situations that are created are built upon that belief system. So in reality, you're creating your reality with your thought process, whether conscious or subconscious.
And it keeps being self-affirming, just like you said.
Right.
So, see, I knew it would be like that. Well, duh, because you expected it to be like that. So learning to use our mind positively, learning to visualize the outcome that we'd like, and releasing outcomes. We never know exactly how things, but doing our best. You've talked about manifestation before. Is,
sure.
Affirming that what you want as if it's already been created, as if you already own it, and feeling that, using your senses in a positive way.
Well, this would tie in with, tie in with nothing. It helps you to recognize that as a collective consciousness, we could change the way things are going.
Well, and we have. Look around. We have created this.
You're scaring me, but but we could change our way out of some of this stuff. I mean, to me, destruction of the planet, war, any of these like self-annihilating things is just it's more than horrific. I don't even know what the right word is, but that's certainly one of the things that I internalize. I go, oh my God! But then I think, well, wait a minute. If my premise is true that I can create my own reality, why don't I focus on some positive stuff or see a difference in that and see how that works? And that's kind of where I'm at right now, although I do still have anxiety and stress.
And so many times, the reason that we continue to have the anxiety and stress is that SEMO, or that subconscious emotional memory override, because we're filtering everything through it. And so the system, the bioenergetic synchronization technique, the work that I practice, the healing system, identifies that interference and then updates the nervous system, removes that, so that removes another layer of filtering so that it's turning off some of those programs that are running and glitching up the system and not allowing us to adapt and respond in the moment.
Let's talk about some of your solution-based stuff. I mean, certainly everybody who is stressed out can recognize that they're stressed out. And maybe folks are not paying attention, but they will after hearing this. Oh, let me see how my physical feeling is with what's triggering my stress. What thought does it? And somebody might even say, oh, gee, my portfolio just took a nosedive. So of course I'm stressed out. So they justify the feeling.
Yes.
So what would be a solution? I'm sorry, I'm over talking your solutions.
That's all right. Well, no, it very is. You just hit it right on the head. We justify our negativity. We justify our stance rather than saying, hey, I could contribute to something positive and change this. The number one thing I always like to go back to is the most basic thing that we have. It's what we came in with, and what we'll ride out on is our breath. When we first come out of the womb, inspiration.
Take a breath. Yeah.
Last thing is that big long exhale. And so
I'm not ready for that yet.
No. Well,
I'm thinking
it'll be when it'll be. But being prepared for that and in recognizing that the quality of our breath is a good indicator of our stress levels. People that are, when we're stressed, they tend to have their shoulders up, ready to fight.
There's tension.
There's tension. So that's appropriate again if there's a real physical threat. Someone's holding a gun to your head, you're going to be kind of freaked. But if you're sitting there, why? You got to ask yourself, okay, so what's my breath doing? Most people are stuck. So drop the shoulders. The big key is if you can drop your shoulders and evaluate your breath. If your breath is down here, you can start to be relaxed. And then it'll allow us to open our awareness. The science is actually now showing us that when we're in that stress response, we're aware of only 40 bits of information per second. When we're relaxed, we're aware of 20,000 bits of information per second. So the key is first get yourself calm and relaxed.
So in your 90-second period you got there, you start, take these tools and use them.
Yeah. Then from there, we talked about think about what you think about when you think about it. Recognize the thoughts. We're moving that way. Most people are just now starting to recognize how their physical diet affects their health. But most people don't recognize their mental diet as affecting their health. And we talked about the 6 essentials. What you think has a more powerful effect on your body function than all the other 5 combined.
Sure, because it touches everything.
Touches everything because, and again, our nervous system controls and coordinates every function in the human body. That's why as a chiropractor, that's why we focus on the nervous system. Most people think that chiropractic is just about the spine. And of course the spine is very, very important. You can't replace a spine. You can replace a hip, you can replace a knee, you can't replace a spine. And yet what is causing that misalignment is what's more important than the misalignment itself. What is overloading the nervous system that's not allowing you to adapt? So we look at those other 6 essentials, eating a diet that's going to produce an alkaline effect, because alkalinity is soothing. Acids are irritating. almost all of the chemicals that are produced in a stress response are acidic and irritating. Important when you have to run or fight, but not so important when you're trying to relax then and you're stuck fighting. Drinking plenty of good water, good fluids, juices. Exercise is probably the #1 key for eliminating the effects of stress once it's already in place, because we're designed to fight or run. So exercise allows you to use up the adrenaline that's built up into the tissues, which if prolonged creates all this tension, inflammation, all these other problems.
So that's what happens when you get into, you get these tensions going on. That's an adrenaline.
Exactly.
Gives you extra strong. Oh, we've got about 5 minutes left. So, well, we can. So what?
Yeah.
So, all right. So, I didn't mean to get stressful out there. No, but when adrenaline comes in, that's when you recognize a difference in the way you feel when something's going on. That may be what it is.
Yeah, and I think we touched on this last time about sleep. One of the biggest factors that affects sleep is people being in defense of that adrenaline response, stuck and not being able to sleep. So it can be from emotions, but what we're also seeing in the society now is everyone's adrenaline junkies, and it's expanded over the years. We look at the extreme sports. We look at the energy drinks that are sugary and caffeine up to the hilt, and they're stimulating an adrenal response chemically without any necessity. So I'm a little concerned of the kids that are doing all these things, because they're going to fry their adrenal systems at a much younger age and lead to a lot of chronic degenerative diseases that would not happen to usually you're younger. Because when you're in that stress response, first it affects that autonomic nervous system, affects your ability to adapt. Then it affects the hormonal system. So you're producing stress hormones rather than healing hormones. Next thing that it affects is your immune system. And your immune system is compromised and can no longer provide the defenses that you need. Wow. So it's this whole prolonged effect here. It's just, and again, the problem is prolonged stress. We're designed to deal with acute stresses. It's the prolonged stresses, whether they're physical, chemical, or emotional, that we have the most problem adapting to.
And that creates the chronic conditions.
Exactly. Exactly. Because no system of the body is built to be on full tilt all the time. You need to be able to rest and respond. Just even a muscle. A muscle is designed to relax and contract, relax and contract. If it's in a steady state of contraction, it doesn't even have a good potential as far as strength.
Well, even my friends that do body work talk about the interstitial fluids getting cramped in between the muscle fibers. So when you get a cramp in your muscle, that's part of kind of what happens. You're stuck in that tight position. Yeah,
and the fascia, the connective tissue, forms around that too, and then gets restricted and tight. And it's just like having this web that just tightens around you.
And the only way to break that, well, you got to have somebody work on it for you, but also change your thinking process. And then should we be eating more alkaline foods if you find that you're a stress person?
Because that's going to create even more stress again, because if you're eating a diet that's primarily meat and grains and dairy and eggs and not enough fruits, vegetables, and other foods, whole foods, you're going to create an acidic effect, and that's going to be a stress in and of itself, because acids irritate. So that acid chemically from your diet can also affect the emotions, because if the system's irritated, it's going to affect your emotions. And again, you have an opportunity. You talked about dealing with stresses in the moment. Last week, right in front of my office, and your wife's office, it was shut down because the SWAT team was holed up in front of the Holiday Lodge. And, I had a choice. When we were walking out there, I said, my whole afternoon, I could have gotten freaked out. But instead, the first thing when I walked out, I asked, well, how can my patients get to my office? And so you're going, no one can get there. It's like, how can they get there? Oh, let's do this and this. And so again, that was being solution-oriented rather than freaking out about a negative outcome.
Okay.
And everybody showed up.